The politics front, the president's been making good on his campaign promises, and his energy secretary is as well. Earlier this month, Wright traveled through Europe, urging leaders to loosen environmental rules and buy more gas from the U.S. And it's an industry he knows very well. He's an energy entrepreneur and former oil and gas executive. He's founded multiple energy companies in his career, and he joins us now. Secretary Wright, thank you very much. I know you have a big announcement. I want to get to that. I want to get to the whole conversation around what to do in response to climate change. But it's a passionate subject, and we're in a dangerous security environment. And I just have to touch on something that broke this morning: a shooting at a federal facility in Dallas. Not your department, totally different side of things, but it does contribute to this overall climate, I think, of threat and fear. What's your security situation? Have you changed your posture in light of everything?
We have to be cautious, of course. But no, I have not worried about my personal security. But I am passionate about engaging in these dialogues and these discussions. You know, it matters for the trajectory of our country and our world.
It does. So what's the announcement this morning?
So my Department of Energy has announced we're going to return over $13 billion to the taxpayers. That's over $100 per American family. This was money passed and slated to be energy subsidies. But we need the subsidies have been corrosive because they've not only cost taxpayer money, but then they've led to more expensive electricity bills. We lose twice. So we're doing everything we can in the Trump administration to stop the rise in energy prices. So
money that was going to go to green energy, to subsidize green energy, is instead going back to the Treasury?
Yes.
So I thought that green energy was going to be like an all of the above, like a part of the energy dominance platform. Is this take it off the table? What's going on?
With green energy, and again, I don't agree with the name, but with solar and wind and electric vehicles, which is where most of the money has gone, they've just barely gotten to 3% of United States energy and 2.5% of global energy. So it's just been a massive malinvestment. We've made electricity more expensive. We've pushed industries and jobs out of our country, haven't moved the needle on global greenhouse gas emissions. It has been, as the president said, I think he rightfully characterizes it as a scam.
But Secretary, you know, energy prices, like you said, are up. Electricity is up 5.5% over last year. Natural gas up 13% roughly over last year. We have a supply and demand problem. Data centers, AI is creating more demand, and that's creating an imbalance with the supply. Why are we taking energy options off the table by canceling these renewable projects and getting rid of these subsidies?
Well, look, the subsidies are 33 years old. So if you're an industry and you can't survive after 33 years without subsidies, that's an industry without a future. So you'll still see solar development in the United States, absolutely. Just it won't be subsidized anymore. But they haven't added meaningfully to the grid. The grid at most all times has meaningful excess capacity. You design a grid to supply electricity at peak demand time, because that's when people die if it's not there. This expression, just add electrons onto the grid. There's no big pool of store electrons. You have to match supply and demand at all times. So what you need is energy sources that are there at peak demand. That's how you allow us to win the AI race, and that's how you allow us to keep electricity prices down.
Don't subsidies help bring prices down because they make it cheaper for the companies to produce that thing, and that gets passed on to the customer?
Yes.
I know people who had their energy prices are up 20% in just this summer. I mean, my utilities, everyone's are really high.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. That's what subsidies are supposed to do. If you subsidize something, it's cheaper to produce it, the price should go down. Since we started putting subsidies under President Obama for building wind and solar, in fact, the subsidies are older than that, it's done the opposite. It's just driven prices up. So the taxpayers pay twice. They pay the government subsidies, they pay higher bills. And the reason is, at peak demand time, power comes from hydro, coal, natural gas, and nuclear. Those are the backbone of our electricity grid. But you have a whole separate grid that has wind and solar. When the wind is blowing, when the sun is shining, everything else has to turn down a little bit. Operating two grids, always more expensive than operating one.
On this word scam, green energy being a scam, I know you don't like the name. Why would we back out of an industry that other countries separate from our decision-making and political process, are investing in. And I'm thinking of China. You got an American flag pin on your lapel. I don't want China to dominate any industry that we could potentially dominate. Are we giving up on something that they're taking over?
Not giving up at all. Getting rid of subsidies for something after 30 years is not giving up. It's just saying it's going to be a business now. It's got to compete like any other business. Solar is still going to grow. You're going to see some exciting developments in there. But look, it's 1.2% of global energy, 1.2% of American energy. So if it grows, that's great. But it's going to grow as a business, not paid for by the American taxpayers.
How long is our runway on fossil fuels, right? I mean, part of the reason that people turn to alternative energy or renewable energy is because fossil fuels are not renewable. At some point, they will run out. I know we're drilling and exploring and all the rest. This is your field. What's our runway in terms of...
And there are subsidies on fossil fuel energy as well.
There really isn't. That's a term that's said because of advanced depreciation, which all manufacturing industries have. Countries around the world subsidize gasoline to make it cheaper because that makes voters happy. We don't do that in the United States. In fact, it pays way more into the tax till than any argument for subsidies. So that's actually a myth that's been sold.
But how long do we have here? How long can we do it?
The honest answer is essentially infinite. A million years from now, the vast majority of the oil and gas that was underground a million years ago will still be there. The resources are just immense.
So then, all right, so the resources are infinite. Can we keep putting the byproducts into the atmosphere? You have an op-ed from July in which you say, we'll treat climate change as what it is, not an existential crisis, but a real physical phenomena that's a byproduct of progress. What I hear in that, a byproduct of progress, is that you're acknowledging that we are contributing to it. It's because of us, but there's a benefit, progress. At what point does the problem become, if you don't want to call it existential, bigger than the solution?
We don't know, but I would say a long way from now. A long way from now. The deaths from extreme weather are down 95% over the last century. We haven't seen an increase in extreme weather. News, media, politicians, everyone raises money saying storms are getting worse. Read the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They're not. So to us, it's be honest about climate change. The world has gotten a little bit greener and a little bit wetter. Agricultural productivity's up, and deserts and grasslands are becoming a little bit greener. Sea levels are rising, and greenhouse gases are contributing to that. 8 inches in the last century and a quarter.
But every 4 years, the Defense Department puts together a global threat report. It's called the Quadrennial Review, and they put climate change in there causing mass migrations as one of the big threats. They're not politicizing it, are they? I mean, they're doing it because they're the military, and they're like, hey, we got to be looking out.
That shows how wide this politicization of climate science has come. Of course, the military defends our country. They're great. But no, absolutely,
they are
political. Pushed to put that in there, to align it with the president's agenda. Look, climate change is a real physical phenomenon. That's why we wrote a paper to publish it, to get data out there. We want to engage children and scientists across the country. But let's treat it honestly. It's clearly ridiculous to call it a defense threat for the United States or for the world.
How are we going to bring prices down for Americans paying utility bills? That was a promise of your administration, and so far they've gone up, not down.
Well, they're gone up because of everything that's in the investment queue to come onto the electric grid right now. Almost all of it is wind and solar, because that's all the Biden administration would permit. Well, President Trump came in and said, we're going to permit what lowers costs and makes American lives better. But we're permitting that stuff now. It takes some time to build it. There's a bunch of other regulation that stop existing power plants from actually running. We're removing those restrictions. We're allowing power to come back on. You will see electricity price rises that we've seen for the last 4 years plateau and stop rising.
About the threat being not existential and the benefits being bigger than the threat, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Secretary Chris Wright.
Otherwise, we'll learn the hard way, right?
Thank you so much. That was today's By the Way.